All right, I think we have everyone here. We can start. Let's go through the formalities. We're ready. Welcome to the March 13, 2023 meeting of the Nantucket Planning Board. We are conducting this meeting via Zoom webinar and remote participation pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order regarding open meeting law. Board members, please acknowledge your presence when I call your name. Dave Iverson.
Here.
Nat Lowell.
Here.
Barry Rector.
Here.
Joe Topham.
Here.
And obviously the chair, John Trudeau, here. Alternates, we have Abby DiMolina.
Here. I think you got my today, John.
Did I get it right today?
I got it right today. Good job.
Almost.
Thank you. Carl Borchert.
Here.
And Stephen Welch. I don't know if he's joined us yet.
Mm-mm.
He is coming in a little late. Staff, I believe we have Leslie joining us a little later. I don't see Andrew here, planning director, so I'll go right to Meg Trudell, land use specialist.
Here.
And Catherine Ansero, administration specialist.
Here.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I would look for a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved, sir.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Barry, seconded by Nat. Roll call. Barry,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and
Joe's
chair
aye.
votes aye. Now on to, well, before we go, secondary dwellings, garage apartments, tertiary dwellings. I'd like to kind of bundle these and group these. Does anyone on the board have an issue that would like, that they need to recuse themselves from any of those?
Mm-mm.
No, I'm not seeing any. So what I'll do is I'll read them off, and then I would entertain a motion for the approval of all the second dwellings, garage apartments, and tertiary dwellings on the agenda. Secondary dwellings, Julia Morash, 18A Gray Ave.
Hold on,
Oh, sorry, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman. Dave's got his hand
Oh,
raised.
I'm sorry. I think I'm overstep. I missed the minutes on that. Is that what you're saying, Dave?
Well, that, and then I just had a question about the Nantucket Valley. Needs to be pulled out. We need to discuss road work on that. Am I wrong, Megan?
So to follow what we've done recently, with a second dwelling on Nantucket Valley Road, I did include language in the approval letter to mirror that last approval that they'd be responsible for grading the roadway twice a year. And then the neighbors can work amongst themselves as to which one actually financially deals with that. But the language is consistent with the prior approval.
So we don't need to pull it out. You?
Nope.
Rockstar. Okay. All right, Dave, if that satisfies that, I am going to jump back to the meetings. I am overstepping here. So we will go to anybody have any questions or corrections for we have 5 minutes, December 12th, 2022, January 12th, 2023, January 26th, 2023, February 9th, 2023, and February 13th, 2023. Any questions, comments, corrections? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes as listed.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Okay, motion been made by Joe. Is there a
Second.
second? Nat, is that you?
Second.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Motion's been made to approve by Joe, seconded by Nat. Roll call, Joe.
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye. Is Joe upside down on everyone's
He was,
screen?
yeah, he was
And
pulling
the
a
chair votes
Batman.
aye. All right. Have been accepted. There he is, right side up.
He was
Great.
hanging
Just
by his
testing you
feet.
all, making sure you're paying attention.
Mhm.
Hanging by your feet, huh?
All right, now
Okay.
on to the approval of the second dwellings, garage apartments, tertiary dwellings. I am going to read them off, and then I would entertain a motion to approve and endorse all in one swoop. Julia Marash, 18A Gray Ave, Joshua Maletsky and Ann Breen, 2253 Mattocket Road. For garage apartments, Matticus Realty Trust, 7 Sansbury Road. Once Upon a Time LLC, 56R Mattocket Valley Road, and tertiary dwellings, Irakli Jiblazzi, 30 Devon Street, 15 Margaret's Way LLC, 15 Margaret's Way. I would entertain a motion for those.
It's Egon Jablats.
Thank you for that correction, Joe.
Short Jibo.
Jibo, yes,
Jibo.
I'm aware of Jibo.
So motion for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Motion has been made by Joe, seconded by Dave. Roll call, Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Now on to the A&Rs. I believe we have 3 that are going to be discussed at public hearing. So we are going to move those, and that's Robert J. Kempes, 67 Milestone Road, Christopher R. and Patricia Lynch, and Christopher E. and Michelle O'Brien, Joy and Gregory Margolis, 5 Sleepy Hollow Road, Unit 1 and 5 Marble Way, Unit 2. And then finally, Philip W. and Cynthia Pillsbury, trustees / Andrew and Aaron McIver, 18 Sleepy Hollow Road, Unit 1 and 68, Somerset Road, Unit 2. We're going to pull those for the public hearing, and then the ones that we're addressing, I would entertain a motion to endorse all of these unless anybody needs to pull themselves or recuse themselves. Town of Nantucket, Massacut Ave and Atlantic Ave. Town of Nantucket, 10 and 11 Mississippi Ave and 282 Mattocket Road. County of Nantucket, Red Barn and Sheep Pond Road areas. Kevin Jacobs, trustee, 1 Judith Chase Lane, and Stephen L. Cohen, trustee of Third Time Trust, 41A Cliff Road. Is there a motion?
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved,
please.
Mr. Chairman.
There we go.
Sorry.
And I'll
So
second.
moved.
No,
Yeah.
I'll
Okay,
second.
motion made to endorse by Nat, seconded by Barry. Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Now we'll go to previous plans. We're looking to endorse legal documents for Bittersweet Lane subdivision. And I believe Arthur Reed is representing. Meg?
So this is just legal documents that have been submitted for your review for endorsement. Our recommendation would be to endorse those documents. We are expecting a plan to be brought forth for endorsement next month.
Okay. Board members, any questions, comments?
Motion to endorse them, sir.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made to endorse by Barry, second by Dave. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. And I see that Stephen Welch has joined us. Welcome, Stephen.
Everybody, good evening.
All right, now on to open space plan. I think we're looking for an acceptance of the open space plan. So with that, Meg, is there anything, any introduction?
Nope, just it was included with your packet. 3 regulatory boards must accept the plan. The public hearing actually takes place through the select board. So this is just an action item for you to accept the open space plan as presented, subject to any non-substantive and or reasonable changes that may occur prior to the adoption by the select board.
And we are the first of the 3 and PEDC to be the next and select board to follow, or is
Yes,
either one? Okay.
that's correct. And the select board, so if there's any interested members of the public watching along, the select board public hearing is currently scheduled for April the 14th for the open space plan.
Great. Board members, entertain a motion to, is that endorse or approve?
Accept.
Just
Accept.
accept. Yep.
Go ahead,
That-
Barry.
Yeah, so that's my motion at this point. I'd like to reserve a comment to the end.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion been made by Barry, seconded by Joe. Roll call. Joe, Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. And Barry, go ahead.
Thank you. I just think it's very important, and I'll try to keep setting this tone as we go through the MP and EDC and the select board as well too. We should give an incredible amount of praise to this plus staff, Leslie, Andrew, for making this happen. This plan was foundering out there for a while. I mean, by right, this plan should be endorsed and carried through on about an every 10-year cycle through the Concom for multiple reasons. It was languishing out there. This was one of the times where there was a very clever use of the CPC funds to make this happen as well too, and engage consultants for it. People were criticizing us that this took too long. Well, we took it upon ourselves to make this happen as part of the plus staff, and through no comedy of errors either. You have to remember there was changes in administrative staff that occurred throughout this whole thing. The initial consultant that was hired for it went out of business, which proved to be rather challenging. And then there was the whole COVID-19 scenario as well too. So here we are today, and I just want to say, as far as one person, I'm just generally thrilled that the plus staff has come through with this and managed to rally.
Thank you, Barry. I'll echo those sentiments. Okay, moving on to public hearings. We have a few requests for continuance. I'll read them off. If someone needs to recuse from any of those, please let me know now. If not, I'll read them and accept a motion to continue. Westmore Club, 105 Westchester, 109 Westchester, and 10 Westmore Lane. Second, 30 North Beach Street, LLC, the Beachside, 30 North Beach Street. The 23 Broad Street owner, LLC, Brotherhood of Thieves, 23 Broad Street. AC Mid-Island, LLC, and AC Offices, LLC, 18, 18A, 20, 22, 24, and 26 Sparks Avenue. And I would entertain a motion for those to continue to the April meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I think Nat got by the tip of the nose. So Dave made the motion, Nat second, roll call. Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. All right, now we're on to the first one of the public hearings. Christopher R. and Patricia Lynch, Christopher E. and Michelle O'Brien, and Joy and Gregory Margulis, 5 Sleepy Hollow Road, Unit 1, and 5 Marble Way, Unit 2. Keep in mind there is an A&R to follow. And I see that Tori Ewing is representing, unless...
Yep, I'm here. Hi.
Hi, Tori, welcome.
Thanks. Nice to see you all.
Great. Well, welcome. Anytime you're ready, just go ahead.
This is, as you read in the staff report, a condominium styled covenant created lot that we would like to make fee simple lots. The plan is pretty straightforward. We're not changing any square footage of the individual unit exclusive use areas. We are not changing property lines. We're not changing driveways. Everything is going to remain as it currently stands. And with that, any questions, please let me know. We've got a couple waivers we've asked for. I see that we will need to allot a square footage to the ground cover allocation distribution. And Megan, I'm not sure what the proposed language change to the bylaw, how that affects this, but please let me know if I need to say something.
Thank you, Tori.
So the proposed language change requires an applicant to identify how that ground cover is being allocated
Okay,
as a part of the waiver request.
which is what we've spoke about. Okay, great.
Yes.
Board members, any questions? Okay, and there are 2 findings and 6 conditions listed. So seeing no question, oh, Dave, go ahead, please. You're on mute.
Sorry, how are you dividing up your ground cover? Are you just splitting it between the 2 lots?
So the current owners, and I need to speak about that to specifically do it. Regarding the 12.5% specifically as individual lots, the majority of what's left would have to go to the market rate lot to make it conforming.
Okay,
And there would be less than 200 square feet after that. So that just needs to be decided among the owners, and I can certainly get that answer as quickly as possible for
Perfect.
staff.
thank you.
All right. Any other questions before I open it up? Seeing none, I'll open up to the public, and Meg, I would ask for your assistance. And this vote would require a approval of 4 out of 5.
Just given the conversations that we've been having with housing choice legislation, I've decided to include what the vote requirement is in the staff report.
Great, thank
But I
you.
don't see any members of the public with their hands raised.
Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Second,
Was that Nat or Joe?
Nat.
All right. Motion's been made to close by Nat,
Aye.
seconded by Dave. Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. And now on to the merits.
Make a motion to approve with the 6 conditions, but also adding maybe a 7th or that notation, Megan, about the ground cover
In there.
before we sign it.
Is that with the distribution of the ground
The
cover? from
distribution,
staff?
the distribution part.
Okay.
Right? That hasn't technically been decided yet. They got the tertiary can go on the primary according to the decision. But on number 2, but not technically what ground cover is going where, so.
Okay. It does not, it doesn't affect the do not exceed 12.5% and condition
Correct.
5, but the distribution could be worked out with staff. I agree.
Right.
We'll add that as the
That's what I
7.
mean.
Okay.
Yeah,
And your 2 findings, I'm assuming that.
yep. The answer is
Okay.
the intent of the zoning bylaw. The second driveway access will not have significant adverse effect on the scenic integrity of the neighborhood, contrary to sound traffic and safety considerations.
Great. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Barry, was that you?
I'm
Sorry.
not sure who that was. I
I
heard something.
seconded it.
Oh, sorry, Dave.
There we go.
For some reason, I'm not seeing anything. I'm just hearing grunts, so maybe it's my computer. Sorry about that. So motion's been made by Nat with that 7th condition, seconded by Dave. So roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye, is unanimous. So it does meet the 4 out of 5. Now we're moving on to the A&R for this discussion. Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion at this point. We endorse the A&R.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made by Barry, seconded by Joe. And Meg, I'm assuming this needs the 4 out of 5 as well.
Mm-mm.
Okay, then, no, Barry, or yes?
3.
3, because it's
3,
not a
okay.
special, yeah, just an A&R, not a special permit.
Okay, I just wanted to make that notation since we were listing it for the previous, so. So I'm sorry, my brain already. Was that Joe that made the motion and Dave second?
Barry made the motion and Joe seconded.
Okay.
Whatever.
Barry
All
made the
right,
motion,
John.
Joe second. Okay, great. This was for the A&R. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
and chair votes aye, so that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you,
very
Tori.
much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Moving on, Philip W. and Cynthia Pillsbury, trustees / Andrew and Eric MacGyver, 18 Sleepy Hollow Road, Unit 1, and 68 Somerset Road, Unit 2. Representing Linda Williams.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Linda. Yes, welcome.
Hey, we've got pretty much the same situation. There are only a couple left of that Marble Way situation, Somerset situation, that have not already been split into two separate lots. This is one of the other ones, 18 Sleepy Hollow. We've read the conditions. They're fine. I don't think we need to waive the interior lot line setbacks. I believe we meet the ground cover on both lots, oddly. And we meet the setbacks. The only thing I think we need to get a waiver from is the two separate driveways, because that's what all of them have. The guys that front on Somerset have their own driveways, and the guys on the backside all have their own. Sleepy Hollow have their driveways. So that's the only waiver I see that we really need, is the two separate driveways.
And that's condition number 4, I see.
Yeah.
Great. All right, thank you, Linda. Board members, any questions before I open it up? Seeing no hands, I'll open up to the public.
There are none.
Okay, seeing no hands from the public, I would entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Motion to close. A second.
All right, motion
think
made by
Dave got
Dave,
that.
seconded by Nat. To close, roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Now onto the merits, and I would also state that there's an A and R to follow. This motion requires 4 out of 5.
Motion to approve the special permit at this point with the findings and conditions as identified by staff.
Okay,
Second.
motion's been made by Barry, and I apologize, Joe, you and Nat are sounding so much alike, I can't tell, and if my screen doesn't have the picture of you mouthing the words, then I'm guessing, so.
That's why I've been raising my hand.
Wow. He's got to change his background.
I am just not fast enough scrolling this screen. I'm sorry. So motion's been made by Barry, second by Joe. So roll call.
Can we add language about ground cover into this one again too?
This is condition number
Oh.
5, not to
Oh,
exceed the
okay.
12.5%, Dave.
No.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So Barry had made the motion. Joe has seconded. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, so that is unanimous. Now on to the A and R that only requires a 3 out of 5.
I'll make a motion. We endorse the NAR.
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
All right, Joe. Motion been made by
Yes, Joe.
Barry, second by Joe. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Thank you. And
Thank you, everybody. Was that the fastest hearing you've had in a long time?
whoa, for you, yeah. I
Yeah, when
must
it
say.
involves you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
Let's make them all. that
Whoa.
way. Thanks, guys. Batten
All right.
down the
Thank you.
hatches.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, moving on. Robert J. Campese, 67 Milestone Road. Don't have representation listed here.
It's
I'm
Art
here.
Gasparo. He's here.
Okay. Hi,
Yeah.
Art. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm before the board tonight with a special permit request to create a tertiary residential lot under the newish bylaw. This property had already had a covenant lot created and out of the market rate lot shown on the plan before you. What we've listed as lot 45 would be the new tertiary lot. We have asked for a waiver for the interior property line setback. There's an existing cottage there, and the setback would be about 8.1 feet to that line, and we'd still be using the same driveway to access the property and providing an access easement And with that, I believe it otherwise meets the requirements of the bylaw and the board, and I'd be happy to address questions, comments, or concerns that you might have.
Great, thank you, Art. Meg, I just noticed when I look at the conditions, the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Do we actually have 5 conditions and it's just numbered wrong, or do we have 6 conditions and 4 was left out?
That's a typo, and we have five recommended conditions.
Great, so we'll just make that note. There are 5 conditions. Great. Okay, board members, questions?
This is great. This is the first one. Mark this date down.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Art, for bringing this forward.
Currently.
Any other board members, questions, comments before I open it up? And keep in mind, this will require a 4 out of 5 vote, and there is going to be an A&R to follow. I'll open it up to the general public.
Peter Brace.
Great, welcome, Peter. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, so on the housing covenant lot next to this tertiary dwelling, I'll have questions when we get to the public hearing, but for the other stuff, but the 8 whatever feet interior line, are you talking about the boundary between my house and right in there? Okay. It's just a little I struggle with the boundary of my lot, because my septic system distribution box, if you bring that cursor down to that, keep coming down to the bottom where it says right in there, right there, go back up, right there. That's where my D box is, right there. But if you look at the GIS website, it looks like the septic system and my D box are outside of my property. So I was just wondering about that. And the line, when I look at it, you know, if you look at the GIS of my the page, the photograph, the satellite, it looks like the property line goes right through the tertiary dwellings, the second half of the house there. So maybe that's just the way the town does it, but then it doesn't go through it on this, what I'm looking at here. Just looking for clarification.
Okay, Art, would you be able to comment on that?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I actually question whether the waiver for the interior lot line is required or not, because that actually exists. It's actually not the one I pointed out, the 8.1. Excuse me, the waiver is required, but it's not to the 8.1. That's the existing line. It's on the opposite side next to the driveway, where you see the 8.7 and the 8.8. Those are the setbacks to what's becoming the new dividing line, if you will. Again, that line between Mr. Brace's house and the cottage that's shown on the new tertiary lot that exists. In terms of his septic, I was quickly trying to bring up, I have the septic file related to that property in my folder. I didn't actually plot that septic system. I'm trying to sort of work it out on the fly. I'm not exactly positive how that falls, you know, into this right now. I can't tell because the septic plan that's on file doesn't show those lines. However, my sense is that the GIS is, you know, informational purposes and not exactly accurate. And the, you know, it generally looking at the septic as-built that his system is likely on his lot. But again, I'd have to plot that separately. I'm not sure either that it's particularly material to the creation of the tertiary lot, but I'm certainly happy to follow up with Mr. Brace on that.
Thank you, Art. Yeah, I don't want to diminish the importance of Peter's question. However, we are discussing about the interior lot. That lot line has already existed. So if it was a problem before, it's a problem today, but it doesn't affect the interior lot line that we're discussing right now. But that you make a good point as far as the GIS maybe being off compared to the actual engineered survey. So I'd expect you to follow up with Peter. Peter, I hope that answers the question that you had. Go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I didn't mean to muddy up this particular part of the meeting. The map or the drawing that I've always been going off is the one for when the well was put in. It shows my septic system within my lot. Anyway, I'm all set.
Great. Thank you. And I expect Art to follow up with you, Peter. Thank you very much for your concern.
All right. Thanks, John.
If I could, Mr. Chair, not to belabor it, I did just find a worksheet because I was working on a septic for the rear house, and that's correct. The Mr. Brace's distribution box is inside of that acute angle on the property line and on his property.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see, is there anyone else in the general public, Meg?
I'm not seeing anybody.
Okay, board members, unless you have
Motion.
questions, entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Motion been made
Mr.
by
Chair.
Barry, second by Joe. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Now on to the merits with the noted correction that there are 5 conditions.
I'll make a motion at this point that we approve the special permit with findings and conditions that we've now identified through staff.
Great, thank you,
Submitted.
Barry. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Barry, second by Dave. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. That was, we needed a 4 out of 5. That was unanimous. Now on to the A&R. This would require a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, motion to endorse, sir.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made to endorse by Barry, second by Dave. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Sandpiper Place 1. I think we've looked at both of these, number 1 and number 2 together. So I would, unless there's any objection, I would like to discuss and hear together. Sandpiper Place 1, Beachgrass 43, AC LLC 43 Beachgrass. And then also Sandpiper 2, Nantucket Property Owner LLC 24 Honeysuckle Drive. Meg, I believe you had recused in the past from participating as staff on this. So aside from that, if you can just help with identifying any public interest for questions, I would put this to Leslie.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Rick Bodette is here representing the property owner. And he did submit a new plan for your review, which I think Megan has, that she can screen share. But I'll turn it over to Rick to explain the plan.
Great. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Leslie. Here we are again. I think it's Rick Bodette, sorry, for Nantucket Property Owners LLC and 43 Beachgrass LLC. Thanks for hearing us again. I think you guys are pretty familiar with this project at this point. It's the 5th time I've been here. But just to quickly refresh your recollection, we are seeking approval to have a community pool and fitness center at 24 Honeysuckle Drive. And as part of that process, we are seeking to amend both of these special permits to allow a swap of a 175 AMI unit, which is 24 Honeysuckle, with a market rate unit, which is 43 Beachgrass. The 43 Beachgrass unit is a duplex that will result in an additional 175 AMI unit for sale in the development. So At the last hearing, I think we hashed out the vast majority of any issues. I think the board was generally satisfied. But we did continue because Richmond Great Point Development was vehemently opposed to our project unless we added some more parking. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Barry that maybe suggested we should all meet out there on site and talk about some solutions. And we did that. Mr. Arminetti and Richmond's attorney, Andrew Burek, were on the phone with us. Andrew Leslie were there. Mr. Paston was there as well. And myself on behalf of my client. And admittedly, that was a pretty productive hearing. We presented them with a plan to show an additional parking space. That's the plan that we submitted last week for your review. And I think, and they can speak to that if they're on the call, but I think Richmond was quite satisfied with that. We talked about some other solutions in the future that we can all work together on relative to parking. And I've told Leslie and Richmond's attorney that we're on board with anything they want to do in the development to aid in that respect. And so essentially what the plan you have now is a plan that shows 4 parking spaces, 3 of which are regular parking spaces. One of those 3 is an accessible space. And then the 4th is, as we said before, sort of a pull-in space for, maybe maintenance, drop off, etc. So just to recap, I think we have acquiesced with everything that the board, the developers, the prior developers, and the neighbors have asked for. I think we've worked out all the issues relative to inclusivity, relative to the initiation fee that the board had concerns with, and I'll remind and the neighbors, of course. I'll remind the board that the initiation fee is 0 for all of the lots, 96 lots in the development, and we want everybody to come use it if they want to use it. We just to remind you, we will charge a monthly maintenance fee, and we gave you those numbers last time. I can go over those again if you like. And we've maintained that we don't really need parking for this, but we certainly have provided it, and we're like we said before, we're happy to provide it if Richmond wants it and if the board wants it. So so with that, I hope you'll approve our project finally, and we just want to create an inclusive community here for everyone. And so we're excited about this. Most of the people we've talked about are very excited about this as well, who are owners or purchasers. I'm representing a couple of 80 AMI unit owners, and they didn't know that this was a possibility, and they were both very excited when I told them about it. So we're excited to provide it, and we hope you guys feel the same way. So happy to answer any other questions you guys have.
Great. Thank you, Rick. First, I apologize. I was not able to go to the site for the scheduled meeting. However, I'm very, very familiar with it. I've been there and I've done my own site review. I'm not going to apologize where I was cruising in the Caribbean without cell phone or Wi-Fi. But I understand there might have been a discussion that took place about the potential for a one-way in that area to maybe provide extra parking. It looked like the road might be significant enough to support that. So I'm curious if that's something that maybe staff wanted to bring up and discuss. Leslie, I see your hand raised.
Yeah. So we did talk about that at the meeting. I think that was a really positive thing that came out of it, is the potential to make Honeysuckle one way so that more on-street parking can be created. I do think that's really outside of the scope of the hearing tonight, so I'd like for us to not derail on that too much. Mm-hmm. But the applicant has committed to working with us on that. Phil Paston and Richmond also agrees it's a great idea, and they're having their engineers look into it. So that's something that we can talk about further in the future, but I think it does solve quite a bit of a parking issue, and the one-way works very well in Naushop. So I think it could work well here in that location. Nat was there. Nat and I measured the road. It seems like there's plenty of room for that. The other thing I wanted to add that has nothing to do with the change in the street, and I think this was in your packet at the last meeting, but maybe it wasn't, but we did receive confirmation from the state relative to the change in location of the affordable unit, that they have no issue with that.
Great. Thank you, Leslie. Board members, any other questions, comments before we open it up to the public? Well, I think we're on at least our third meeting of this, so seeing none from the board, I'll open it up to the general public. And Meg, if you are there, just let me know if there's anybody with a hand raised, please.
There's no one with a hand raised.
Great, thank you. Board members,
Just,
go ahead.
the only thing, I just want to just echo what Leslie said, and, when you look at this project from the window of the house across the street, it's a lot different than looking at a plan. Because this is not, it's not, just dirt. I mean, there's this is a little bit of a project, but it's gonna be good once it's done. It's just, hard to visualize it until you see it. And I think the discussion about the one-way stuff a little bit is a positive thing for the whole issue. I mean, we've got places all around the island that don't have any on-street parking done in the 80s and the 90s. I think this is an important conversation to have outside of this pool issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nat. Any other hands raised before we close? All right, Meg, just checking in.
There are no public hands raised.
Okay, and Meg, does this require a 4 out of 5 vote?
Yes, 4 out of 5 for both special permit requests.
Okay. All right, seeing no hands, I would entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Motion made to close by Nat, seconded by Joe. Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Now on to the merits. I suspect that we'd be able to take these two together with the same motion, Leslie?
They are two separate hearings and we have to write two separate decisions. So if you could do two separate motions, that would be helpful.
Great. So, being that we open together and close together, I'll make the separation. We'll be looking for a motion to approve Sandpiper Place 1 Beach Grass, 43 AC LLC, 43 Beach Grass. On that motion. Anyone? Crickets.
Barry, you want to take that one?
Not particularly, because I'm very torn at the moment.
Fair.
Is there further discussion or are we ready for a motion?
I mean, I think we are. It's just, kind of get lost in some of this stuff. Approving this per staff recommendations, per agreement between the parties. What are we looking for a motion, Leslie?
I think I should probably clarify 43 Beach Grass is the change in location for the duplex for the affordable unit.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
Honeysuckle is the pool. So I think for 43 Beach Grass, you could make a motion to approve the relocation as proposed.
Okay.
And if that's what you're inclined to do.
Yep.
And for 24 Honeysuckle, you could make a motion if you're inclined to approve the pool and the fitness center and the other facilities on the lot with the revised plan as shown with the fee schedule as proposed. And we
Let's
can
take
include
those.
that.
Because I have a feeling I couldn't write that fast, Leslie. So we're going to take the first one and say the motion would be for the change in the relocation of the proposed duplexes.
There you go. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made to approve by Barry and seconded by Nat. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, that is unanimous. Now on to the Sandpiper Place 2, Nantucket Property Owner LLC, 24 Honeysuckle Drive. This is for the approval of the pool, the fitness, and with the staff revised what are revised plans. Anything else you'd like to add to that, Leslie?
Yeah, the one important piece that I left off was the elimination of the single family dwelling on that lot.
Good catch. Elimination of single family dwelling. Great. With that, does everybody understand that? Any questions, comments from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion at this point is that we approved the honeysuckle part of the subdivision at this point as described by Leslie just a few moments ago, unless there's any.
Great, this would
questions.
require a 4-5 vote. Is there a second?
I'll second Mr. Chair.
Okay, motion's been made by Barry, seconded by Joe. Roll call, Barry.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Noted, it is unanimous. Thank you very much. And thank you, Rick.
Thanks, everyone. I think this is one that the process kind of worked on, so
Great.
I appreciate it, of
Good resolution. Thank you for your patience.
course.
All right, moving on, Nantucket Cottage Hospital, 60 Meadowview Drive. This is also Rick, I believe your baby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rick Bodette for the applicant, Nantucket Cottage Hospital, owner of 60 Meadowview Drive. 60 Meadowview, you might remember, was divided by A&R last summer to create two 20,000 square foot lots, roughly in the R20 zoning district. This application is for one of those lots. The applicant has existing building permits to construct a primary, secondary, and tertiary dwellings on this property. The primary would currently have 3 bedrooms as proposed. Secondary has 3 bedrooms as proposed, and the tertiary has 2 bedrooms for a total of 8 bedrooms. And I think you all are aware that in the R20 district, when you have a tertiary, there's an 8-bedroom limit and also a limit of 1 bedroom on the lot per 2,500 square feet. So that limitation limits the property to 8 bedrooms. This application is a request for a special permit to waive that 8-bedroom requirement and allow us to have 10 bedrooms on this particular lot. One of those bedrooms would be placed in the basement of the primary, and the other would be placed in the basement of the secondary dwelling. As to parking, we have provided a site plan that shows 8 spaces. We are required under the bylaw to provide 7, so we've exceeded that. And I'm happy to, that's essentially what we're asking for. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. But not surprisingly, we think this meets the spirit and intent of the bylaw. And this is something that will provide much needed housing for the hospital, for occasionally employees, occasionally visiting doctors, visiting nurses, or contract help as well. So we hope that that you'll approve it. And like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you, Rick. Board members, questions?
Sue is down there now, so.
Go ahead, Dave.
I don't have a question, but I just think that for people that are watching, for the public, to understand that part of the condition, if this is passed, is that this relief is only granted for the hospital, and if it changes hands, then it doesn't exist anymore. So I just wanted anyone watching that had questions, I want to make sure they understood that. Thank you.
Thanks for the comment. This vote would require a 4-5. All right, if there are no other questions from the board, I'll open it up to the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
To be clear, thanks Dave for mentioning that. We have no issue with that condition. Wasn't part of our application, but I think it's a good catch by the staff, and that's fine with us.
Great, thank you. So I don't see that in conditions other than the relief granted special permit. Would we add that in condition number 2? Meg or Leslie?
It's
No,
more,
that is the condition. So the relief granted in the special permit extends to the applicant only, which is Nantucket Cottage Hospital. And any changes in control or ownership would either require the property to revert back to 8 bedrooms or would
Okay.
require a modification to the special permit.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Sorry for that. All right. Anybody
Okay.
from the general public?
I'm not seeing anyone.
Motion to close the public hearing then, sir.
Is there a second?
second,
Motion's been made by Barry to close, second by Joe. Roll call, Barry.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Nat,
aye,
Dave,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Again, this would require a 4 to 5. Now onto the merits.
Make a motion at this point that we approve the special permit with the findings and conditions as denoted by staff in the report.
second,
Motion's been made by Barry, second by Nat. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Nat,
aye,
Dave,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Great. Thank you very much, Rick.
Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
All right. And I don't think we have you again,
Hey,
so
Rick.
have a good night.
That's it. I'm home for dinner tonight. That's a shock.
Woohoo!
Thanks, guys.
Jealous.
Not bad.
Moving on, we have James and Michelle Starr, 9A Hussey Farm Road, representing if Jay is here.
He is.
Mhm.
Let's give him a second to get over as a panelist.
And this is a request for a special permit for a second driveway access to create parking to accommodate 2 vehicles.
Yes. So staff's recommendation was to approve the request as proposed with the condition that the applicant install an apron just to where, if you've noticed in the photographs where the flare is, so that may end up requiring a little bit of a depth waiver, but that aesthetically would look the best in staff's opinion. So that was our
Yep.
recommendation for this, and Jay is here if you have any questions.
Great. Shay, if you don't have anything to add, I will open to the board for any questions.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but thank you for that lead.
Well, just acknowledging
care
you're
of it.
here is great. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
All right, board questions, comments? Seeing none, I will open it up to the general public. Oh, Nat, were you saying something?
no, nothing, that's fine.
It's
All
okay.
good.
Meg, if there's anyone from the general public, let me know, please.
I'm not seeing anyone.
Motion to close the public hearing then, sir.
Okay, motion been made by Barry to close. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Roll call, Barry.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye,
and chair votes aye. Now on to the merits. This will require a 4 to 5 vote.
So I'll make a motion at this point that is that we approve the special permit, the findings and recommended conditions as identified by staff in the report.
I'll second that. Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
motion's been made by
Yeah.
Barry, second by Joe. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
aye,
and the chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the board and your time.
All right, moving on. 18 Center Street LLC, 18 Center Street, representing Alyssa Corey.
So Alyssa's here. I just brought her over as a panelist. So this is an application for a waiver of the driveway design standards. In addition, so it's for size because it's 15 feet in depth. And then additionally, the space is technically adjacent to a way, so it would be within 25 feet. Our recommendation would be to approve this request as proposed. It does allow for a parking space that would otherwise be parked on the street and put it on site. It's not going to eliminate an on-street parking space with its creation. And I think Alyssa can speak to where they're at with HDC approval. I know when they submitted, they were kind of in the process with HDC. So our recommendation would be to go ahead and approve this as proposed.
Yes, just so I could, thank you so much, Megan. Yeah, I just wanted to add that we did go in front of the HTC and they actually recommended the look of it. So they said we're still on the list. We haven't been reheard yet with the changes, but they said if you guys approved it as the planning board, then they would be leaning towards approving it as well on their behalf.
Thank you, Alyssa. Questions from the board?
Mr. Chair,
No.
is this the house that's under construction? Just
Yes.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
That was that the right house?
Yes.
Joe stole my first question. Because I'm familiar
Go
with
ahead,
this
Matt.
area. So the little way that down bottom, that connects you over to that little paved little way thing, or is this a different house? This is that one.
It's
I
in
think
between
one
Center and Shell Street.
Yeah. So this is what we need to have because you have no parking on Shell Street anyway. So, you'd be parking on Center. That's probably where you've been parking. Or
Right.
whoever owned the house before, if you just purchased it. So. Yeah, I should have
That's
went
right.
out and looked at this. I didn't look at this and I should have done that. I always look at second curb cuts. But it's in a good spot and, so I know that area really, really well. So I think that I'm totally fine with it.
Meg, could you put up that picture again, please? And the one thing that I did note is it's obviously the size of the parking is not necessarily large, more for a compact vehicle.
Yeah.
And, a regular sized Jeep, I think, is about 15 feet.
Yeah.
So it's not, just to give a little perspective, off-street parking for something like that, I think is better than nothing with the narrow streets that we have.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the direct abutter or the lot further down as you're going to the village, but they have a small little Jeep in there, so it does work. And they've had a dumpster there for 6 months now, so I think it's going to work. It will help have some on-site parking.
Okay, just open it up to the public. I don't see any other hands raised.
I'm not seeing one from the public.
All right, no.
Make a
hands raised.
motion to,
Go ahead. Matt.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I
I was
don't
gonna
see
make a
anything.
motion I was gonna make a motion to close public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made to close by Nat, seconded by Joe. Roll call, Nat.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Now on to the merits.
I guess I'll make the motion to approve the request based on the findings 1, 2, and 3 in the staff report.
And it is going to require a 4 to 5 vote. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
All right, motion's been made by Nat, seconded by Joe. Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alyssa.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have Crib LLC, 12 Knobska Way, Art Gasparo representing.
Let me bring Art back. He's actually going to be the representative for your remaining public hearings. So he'll be with us.
Get comfortable.
Yeah, he'll be with us through the end.
I'm back. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm before the board tonight with an approval required subdivision for the property located at the end of Knobska Way off of the Hammerhead. And I will tell the board, this is not our intention to move forward with this application. We intend to come back with a rear lot subdivision, which will allow us to keep the structure in place and essentially have the same kind of a configuration that you would see here in terms of you know, the same driveway that exists serving these lots. This is to create some housing for Toscana Corp and some of their more senior employees. That's our ultimate goal here, but in order to move forward with the rear lot subdivision, we would need the board to approve the AR subdivision first under the provisions of the bylaw. We don't really have any on the ground changes proposed as they exist here, but of course, happy to discuss any conditions if necessary with the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. And obviously you're familiar with the findings and the conditions that are listed under this particular application, knowing that you might come back with a second or rear lot. Sorry, Art, that was directed towards you.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. I thought you were talking. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking to the board. I missed.
No, yeah, under this, obviously with this, this application, knowing what you're going to do later to come back with a rear lot, there's still findings and conditions that are required for this, and you're familiar and you.
We are, and we're certainly amenable to all of those conditions.
Great, thank you very much. Board members.
No, this is what the real lot subdivision is for. Keeps them from having to tear stuff down and keeps the existing driveway, which is great there. It's a perfect spot. I've been in that driveway 20 times easily, and it works real well. That setup over there. So this is good. Thank you.
And just to note, this is only a 3-5 vote. Other board members, questions before I open it up to the public? Seeing none from the board, I'll open it up to the public. Meg?
I'm not seeing anyone.
Motion to close public hearing, sir.
Second.
Motion made to close by Barry, seconded by Dave. Roll call, Barry.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Now on to Merit.
I'll make a motion at this point that we approve the subdivision as given to us with the findings and conditions as identified by staff on the report.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Barry, seconded by Dave. Roll call, Barry.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. All right.
Thank you.
Art. Stay where you are. 40 Old South Road LLC, 2A Forest Ave. And this is Art Gasparo again representing. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We're for you tonight for a new takeout establishment on the corner of Forest Ave and Old South Road, which will have a retail component as well. The plans are in your packet. As you can see, we would enter in from Forest Ave and have no entrances in from Old South Road or across that bike path. This is expected to be the new location for the tie house operation, which I believe many of you are probably familiar with. And I think they do a good job for our community. And I believe that this is the zoning, here is really what this was meant to be. There will be housing units up above. We're providing screening, as you can see on the plan, around the parking area. And there's a couple of larger trees that are there that we're going to try to preserve. We would have an asphalt parking lot and drainage. And we are requesting a waiver of 5 of the required parking spaces. Again, some of them are generated by some of the employees, which some of which we would provide NERDA passes, obviously, for all of them. We've shown a proposed bike rack on the plan as well. And given, I think, the proximity to NERDA stops and bike paths, I think that the waiver is justified in this situation. And that this establishment will be a real benefit to the community without an adverse impact on sound, traffic, safety, or convenience to the area. And with that, I'd be happy to try to address any questions or concerns you might have with the application.
Thank you, Art. Aside from the issues that were addressed with bike racks, proposed hours, monetary contribution to the area, et cetera, I would rely on staff to give us an idea of in the past of what that's been. But there's lighting, dark skies, low lighting, anything like that has been addressed or assumed?
Yes, it's in the narrative where you are right there, where exterior lighting will comply with chapter 102, and the waste would be in a screened dumpster area, which would be hauled by one of the commercial service providers. And certainly we're amenable to any conditions to that effect in the special permit.
And as far as hours of operation, similar to or mirroring what they are operating under presently?
That's correct.
Okay. Board members?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, could we just get those hours identified for the record?
Sure. Art, do you have those?
I don't. I checked in with the owners who are traveling today, so I don't have the exact hours. They're supposed to get back to me, but we've been hoping for discussion. I mean, they would like to be able to, as they have now, coffee service, through dinner. I would hazard a guess, probably along the lines of like 7 to 9, something like that.
But they would be recorded under the previous special permit for the hours of operations. Is that correct?
I think that that operation, I didn't do the permitting there, and I believe that might operate under the Candlestick Corner permit for that, but I don't know if there is a special permit specific to the Thai House operation or not. Perhaps one of the staff might know, but I don't know that.
Okay. Is that the days of the week, aside from the hours of operations, are they looking for 7 days a week?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay. Questions, concerns, board? Staff, is this more than less in keeping with other area takeout facilities?
Yes, so this would be an appropriate location for this proposed application and use. Maybe Leslie would be able to expand on possible hours of operation, but I don't think we'd want to limit them too much in case they wanted to extend some sort of breakfast service. Espresso to Go is right across the street. They're in close proximity to the meat and fish market. So I think, this is CN zoning, where this particular use just requires the issuance of a special permit. And there's also the parking waiver to address.
Okay, thank you. And as Barry would like to note that it is a special permit, can be reviewed if there's any kind of issue. Any other questions, comments from the board before I open it up? I see Carl's hand raised.
I forgive me for being a little out of it, but what's the drawings of the two adjacent lots with parking on them? Is that something that's not relevant? For Mr. Gasparo, could you?
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair. We'll be in for your next meeting with an application on by a different owner. They're under different ownership for development on those lots. We did want to show that to you so that you knew it was coming. We are permitting them separately as of right now. We do show a fence going across in the two driveways so that they would be permitted as standalone operations, again, because the ownerships are different. But I believe that the hope would be that there could be some, cooperation and synergies there for the operation of the pending application to the north. But we wanted you to know that while they're separate, they are, right close together. And I think that they're going to be set up so that they could operate, or if one of them was to be sold, something of that nature. But at the same time, if they can, be set up where it's beneficial to both operations, then we would try to hopefully run it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Barry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few things. I'm not wanting to close the meeting tonight because I really would like to understand what the hours of operation are, both per day and then over the course of 7 days worth of time. I think that is an important piece of information for this board to be able to act prudently on this application. The second thing is I'm a little troubled with the number of parking spaces versus what the requirements are. Especially with the takeout thing, unfortunately, I can see that being real problematic if they are doing an incredibly good business and then all of a sudden people are running in there for takeout. They may be just inclined to block off spaces because, I'll be only a few minutes worth of time to go get my takeout food. I'm just a little troubled by that. I appreciate that the other properties, something may happen later and that may be a problem-solving opportunity. And I know we can't depend upon that in any way, shape, or form, but in its current iteration right now, I'm troubled over the number of parking spaces and how that's supposed to wind up flowing in terms of the business being a successful one at that. I'd like to hear from maybe Leslie to see if she has any additional thoughts on that.
Barry, I maybe this will help. I'm just curious with the right now their present operation. I guess this is a question to Art. Are the parking spaces with the present operation similar to ones that are proposed? And also, I would like to know, with the additional permit coming for the next lot with the cooperation of the shared parking, it's similar to the shared parking where they're located now over at the Candlestick. So, or Candle, yeah. So they kind of cooperate, and the parking works with other parkings. And if it's working now with the amount of business that they have in their location with the parking, I don't expect it to be any different. But I would be interested to see the comparison, what's proposed now and what they presently have, if Art knows that.
I'd still like to hear from staff, though, respectfully.
Sure.
You want to hear from me?
Go ahead,
now or
Art,
staff?
if you have that answer. Sure. Yeah.
I think I would have to check with the owners on that and get back to you.
Okay.
And I heard Mr. Rector, and we'll have to hear staff. So let's, I think, have the full discussion, and then we can see where we're at.
Great. Dave, your hand's raised.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm concerned about the parking as well. I think that some other people come before us and we really give them a hard time about parking is one thing. And then I'm just concerned, like Barry said, with the takeout business, and apartments upstairs. So a concern. My other question, and through you to Art, is this the Wellhead Recharge District?
It is.
It is. And and I guess for staff, has Ed Pesci seen this yet? Reviewed the engineering plans?
So this type of application does not warrant engineering review. It's a special permit for commercial use. It's not a major commercial development. It's just under that threshold. So if they were to do some further expansion, say finishing out some of that storage space in the interior, that could trigger an MCD, but at this point, it's not an application that Mr. Pesci would be reviewing.
I guess then to Art, is the drainage you have planned here sufficient to allay concerns being in the wellhead recharge district?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I mean, we would use a deep sump catch basin and clean it on a regular basis. And we certainly could provide a standard, even though, you know, it may not raise to that level. Technically of an MCD, I'd be happy to provide a stormwater operations and maintenance plan for the sweeping of the parking lot and the cleaning of the catch basins that you could incorporate into your decision to make that a requirement and, you know, be sure that there is that level of protection for the aquifer.
That would be great. I just think there's a lot of non-permeable surface in that small space. I think it would be good. Thank you.
I'll go to Leslie first.
On the drainage, Megan's correct. It does not require major site plan review, which would trigger review by Ed Pesci, but it does require a certificate of water quality compliance from Wannacommit Water. So Mark will need to review the plans and issue that as a condition of the special permit.
Thank you. Joe?
Do the 3 projects in its totality trigger Ed Pesci's review? I mean, I know they're under separate ownership, but whether they're all abutting each other, I just didn't know if that would. Megan, you said it was just close. That's why I'm wondering.
So if it were to be under common control or ownership, it would trigger that review. But to my knowledge, from what Art has described, it doesn't sound like that will be the case.
But all 3 lots will be working in concert together.
Individual applications, so technically they wouldn't,
Right.
but there
Well,
would
they're all
be.
driving through there.
You're right.
The site plan. That's why I'm just wondering, you know, can we ask for that or is it not?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Art.
I would say that, again, the ownerships are separate. And so they wouldn't be treated as one, but ideally, you know, there would be, it would be mutually beneficial for them to, you know, cooperate in that manner. I've designed the entrances so that they could be 2-way entrances, you know, on each lot, but I could see that this could work really well if you were to enter at the north entrance and exit from the south entrance to facilitate the flow, you know, through there. At the same time, where the ownerships are separate, if somebody was ever to, like we say, you know, transfer one of them. And so our plan right now shows this is the architect's plan, but our site plan, which would be the plan that's actually approved by this board. You know, we actually show a fence along that line for right now. But ideally, you know, so in order to provide the required screening, but ideally, you know, after review of the other application, if they come together on this, maybe that can, you know, come down.
Thanks, Art. Any other questions before we open it? Seeing none, I'll open up to the general public.
I'm not seeing anyone from the general public.
Okay. Nat?
Just want to just make a sort of a little comment on the business these people do. So I've been to their place, you know, not all the time, but I've been there numerous times at different times. And I've never not been able to back right in where I want to back in. And you don't know where the vehicles that are in that, you know, Candlewick area, they could be anybody's vehicle. Like they're just random. Like they could be across the street. It could be, you know, I don't think there's an issue with this. I think it's gonna be more of a flow and ease of movement more than it is number of actual spaces. So in other words, making it wicked hard for people to back up and turn around and get out and in. Those are the problems I see here, if any. I see where they've got the loading and unloading part. And they don't, I don't know if they get, you know, the typical, I mean, they're not like a restaurant, like they're not getting Cisco, US, you know, all kinds of deliveries. I think they get, you know, smaller, small spread out type of stuff that they get. So if this was going to be a sit down restaurant, it would be in a different position. But if it's strictly takeout, I understand the apartment issue with vehicles just sort of there in the daytime. Potentially that could be a little bit of a problem, but this is an area that is going to be developed a little at a time. So, you know, starting out the right way is important, but also Art's sort of alluding to, you know, working with neighbors, et cetera, to, you know, as each lot gets developed. Now, there's no on-street on Forest Ave, right? Art, the road's not wide enough.
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, I hear what you're saying about the in and out. I kind of like it.
I'm sorry,
the way
Nat, to interrupt. Could we get the map put up?
No,
as
sorry.
you're commenting? So that
I'm
people
looking
can
at
see?
it on my other phone. I can see it. So
No,
okay.
just for the general public to see.
Yeah. No. I got you. Sorry about that.
That's on his.
I kind of see that. I like the way you have it away from the road, so that vehicles can sort of, you know, they're not sort of fighting each other. I kind of like this. This is reminding me of a mini version of Nantucket Meat and Fish when we were arguing about that for several meetings. You'd forget that now. So I don't know. I don't have an issue with it. I think it's a pretty good setup because it's takeout, and the place is not going to be like, it's an existing business. Everybody knows what they make. It's not like a brand new business that no one really knows what's going to happen. So I don't see people hanging out here very long. So I think it's going to be rotating like it does now.
Go.
It's it for me, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Somebody else is trying to
No,
talk.
that's okay. Dave?
So just the takeout kind of alleviates some of my parking concern, but when we say retail, do we know what kind of retail that they're planning on having in there?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't. I could find that out too. I can get you a little more information. I mean, I'm hearing, just so that I'd love to hear all the comments from the board, and I heard you like, I think we need to get you a little more information. And so, you know, I will request a continuance following the discussion, and I'd love to work with the board and address these, you know, get you the answers to the questions.
Thank you, Art. I appreciate that. I think that would also be helpful for us as a board, and I realize that people don't necessarily want to share that, and I understand it, but what kind of businesses are going to be neighboring it? Because I think that would give us some insight into the parking and some other issues, maybe, even though I know it's a separate deal. I'm just, I think that's part of the equation here. Thank you. And thank you, Art.
Hey, Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree. What are the neighboring businesses? And, you know, I guess if it's going to be a little bit, I'll use Cumbies as an example, because I do know that they have some grab and go stuff within their current structure building down the road. So, I mean, I guess if that's, you know, you're going to run in, grab something, move on, grab sodas or whatever, I'm fine with that. And I was worried about the parking, but as Art said, he's going to try and tie the 3 lots in together to have one way in and out. I think would be so much better for this program as a whole. But yeah, I'd like a little more detail on what abutting businesses and a little more depth and what's going to happen within the structure that we're looking at now. Thank you.
Barry?
And I just want to concur with Dave and Joe, as to what they just said. The retail is going to have to be identified somewhat because that will be also integral toward what's happening on that site. And I'm not sure it's 100% takeout either, because what I see are two patios built into the establishment as well, and I don't know how those are supposed to integrate or function. I mean, I'd love to think that people can get their takeout and sit down and relax outside or something when the weather's nice, but again, that has to be examined. I know we can't depend upon the other two properties in terms of being able to render a decision on this particular one, but what happens with those two is really integral toward how everything's going to have to flow together. And I don't want to have to reopen a special permit here either to say, oh yeah, we definitely will need some modifications to make this thing happen. I wish them the best. I will tell you, I have been there sometimes to get takeout and stuff. And there are times I haven't had what I'd call a prime parking space based upon where I was at that point, which indicates to me the business is cranking. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's what we want to see. But realistically, this is slightly different than where they're currently located right now, where there is an abundance of parking spaces there. So I think we've got a little ways to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Joe?
Yeah, I agree about the outside patios. I more thought they were architectural features to help with their HCC application, but I'm sure Stephen can help us on that part of it. Yeah, if it's just architectural features and not really outside dining, or I feel like the back one, what is that, looking towards the north? I feel like that would just be for, staff going outside and get a little break, fresh air or something like that. But to the side one, based on Barry's question, I'm a little concerned about that now. So thank you.
Okay. Also, I mean, just to summarize some of the things we talked about, just for Art to come back and make sure he has the correct questions to address. We talked about certificate of work compliance with the also with the cleaning catch basins, the type of retail, if we could, especially if we can get any indication with the neighboring, that would help with the parking, knowing what type of retail was there, if we could. A parking, as far as the number, is there the surface of the parking, paved, stone, etc. Identified, if there are any identified parking areas for residents, maybe, being that there's going to be residents above. We talked about the lighting, dark sky compliant, the hours of operation was mentioned 7 to 9, Sunday to Saturday. However, we wanted to get a definitive on that. We looked at the bike racks, also NRTA passes for the employees. And finally, we haven't talked about the exact number of what we might be looking for monetary contribution for area pedestrian and bike improvements and or maintenance. So that's one of the final things. And anything that anyone would like to add to that, just so that there's a good amount of information that Art can address prior to coming back to us for the second time. And I'm open to hear anything about the contribution from previous numbers that we might have had from businesses. Staff, I would look to you for a recommendation as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think somewhere in the ballpark of $5,000 is what we were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that would be probably agreeable, knowing that I know there was a business that are familiar with that had that same contribution about 13 years ago. So it's a good deal. Any other questions, comments at the present time? I'm looking to the general public before we continue, or any other additional comments from Art?
None for me, Mr. Chair. Thank you all. I have my list. I don't want to belabor it. I will say the abutting businesses will be a restaurant.
Wow.
Stay tuned. There'll be more to come on that very soon. And I will work with the owners and to get additional information and provide a supplemental filing with you.
Great. Thank you very much. Barry?
Yeah, just one last thing, looking at the plan, and I'm not enamored to it, but instead of forcing the bike traffic in through the main entranceway there, maybe because the bike racks are closer to the roadway system.
It's a
there
great
could be
idea.
little, yeah, just a little something, to
Thank you.
just, yeah, because I'm willing to make that happen, without adversely affecting any of our calculations here. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other questions, comments from the board, I would look for a motion to continue to our April 10th meeting. Barry?
Yeah, I'll make that motion. I just want to ascertain that we're good with the public. And
Yes, I
thank you. I
was
kind
looking
of thought you
for
did.
any other.
All right, so my motion is continued to April 10th then.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion continued by Barry till April 10th, seconded by Joe. Roll call, Barry?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Dave?
Yep.
Nat?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you, and thank you, Art.
Thank you.
Okay, Art, you're not going anywhere. Fair City
right.
LLC, 115 and 117 Old South Road. This is a special permit for major commercial development for contracting shop with exterior storage, warehousing, and several structures. Go ahead, Art.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a continuation of the hearing for Tom Hanlon's landscape operation, and we've provided some supplemental information to address some of the comments that the board had made at the first public hearing, as well as Mr. Pesci's comments. And I can briefly run through those if you would like. There were questions about lighting, which we've addressed in a little bit more detail, about the drainage. We've addressed those. The repair of vehicles and maintenance, knowing that you have lawnmowers and those sort of things, would be done inside of the building. The one of the bigger buildings that you see there is essentially set up for exactly that purpose. And so again, we are happy to have any conditions along those lines that, as we put in our letter, that maintenance of any vehicles or equipment, really it's probably more of equipment than vehicles, would be in the building. The hours of operation are anticipated to be no earlier than 7 a.m., no later than 8 p.m., except that Mr. Hanlon does do snow removal. And when we get those situations, they sometimes have to mobilize at other hours of the night and operate. So we would ask for consideration during snow removal operations that there may be activity in there. There's no manufacturing that's proposed on the site either. We have I reached out to the fire department and provided their plan for review. As I was going through my things, I did see that I'm sorry to say I missed an email from Mr. Townsend that got back to me during the school break. And he did ask for a couple of questions that I could briefly hit on. I believe that we can easily provide that information, which was that the buildings, any mixed use buildings would require a sprinkler system, which of course we're amenable to, is going to be required by a building code. The fire department access roads have to be 18 feet wide. We're proposing a 20-foot wide road. The hydrants, we have hydrants at each end of the road, and frankly, we would put a hydrant anywhere that the fire department and water department wanted one. And then he wanted a swing path analysis. So that's the only piece of things that I think that I would have to provide would be just that swept path, which I could run and provide, and we'd certainly be amenable to, if it would work, approval conditioned upon providing that for fire department approval, which again, the site is, I believe, plenty large for the size of the roads to come in one end and come back out the other. As you can see, the way that it's laid out, it's going to be set up essentially for landscape trailer trucks and trailers to get through there as well. So I don't anticipate a problem with any of those aspects of this. We worked to address Mr. Pesci's comments, which were very helpful in terms of providing sediment control plans and tracking pads to the plan, and that we would do sweeping and provide some construction details. I know the lighting is a concern to the board, and so in addition to the dark sky bylaw, we would use in order to comply with that, lenses and deflectors and limited wattage. And the intention would also be to have auto sensors so that you don't have daytime use, and you can, minimize nighttime use, not have them on when they're not really needed. We did add trash and dumpster location to the plan, though I will say I showed it as one, and one of Mr. Pesci's comments was that there should be, trash location for each of the buildings, which we're certainly happy to add. And I believe that was there's a stop sign and painted line that were asked for at the entrance to Old South Road, which we've also added. I think we've worked through most of this, I hope, and I'd be happy to address any additional questions or concerns that the board or the public may have.
Thank you, Art. Just before I forget, one of the questions that comes to mind for me was with an application of similar content where it had a compost pile and the frequency at which it was removed, because over the course of time, if it's forgotten about, it tends to create a smell. Not that we're surrounded by residents, but there are residents across the street, et cetera. And I'm just curious if that has been addressed at all, the frequency of maybe removal of compost.
I know that it would be actively managed.
Okay.
And like I said, there's no residential, lot right there. I mean, where we're proposing that material storage, if you want to see on the plan, it's immediately adjacent to the whole Glowacki stuff that was, just approved on the other side. So I think it would be a fair distance from, anybody that might catch a whiff of that in vast comparison to, I believe the application that you may be thinking of was, quite much more of a mixed use neighborhood, if you will. And I don't think that's the situation here.
And I get that does make a good point because it's not as congested in a residential area. However, the large scale operation, if it's stockpiled for an extended period of time, you're going to smell it in Nantucket. So I don't want to make it so that we give not a definitive amount. I would say, if it was fair to say no less than at least once a week, because depending on the size and of the pile, especially during the time of the year when it gets to be 80 degrees, and if you had a mountain of it, like I said, it's all kind of relative. And if you just avoid it where it's once a month, we might have a problem with it. Granted, it's something that we can probably revisit and talk about. But I just wanted to bring that up in the initial stages of the application. And I see a couple of hands raised from the board. So Dave?
Yeah, I'm sorry. And I don't know if I missed this, but have we nailed down a specific use for each of these? Well, there's 2 lots, but for the whole MCD is it going to be divided into different uses on different lots? I'm just not clear on that, I guess, to Art through you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Art?
Sure. So, the original intent would be to support the landscape operation, and the big building in the front is going to be sort of the for Tom's office and the building, and then you see that there's the nursery and the greenhouse. and the pretty much square building, which would be his equipment maintenance building, and then the two larger buildings in the back, could be for storage, warehousing, contractor shops, which we included in the application.
Okay, I'm just, part of the concern is, are there gonna be fertilizer chemicals on the property? I think there's just a lot of concerns about what the use is, and I feel like that back building is kind of up in the air now, so it's just, I think, a concern that we as a board should understand fully what we're approving. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Art, sorry.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's so much up in the air as that it would be, contractor use, storage, warehousing, or contractor use, essentially most likely garage doors in front of where you see the concrete pad. Now, will some of that be used for his operation or others? I think it all depends on the demand and the size of, as his business grows, but that's the intended use. And Art, I think Dave raised a good question, because without actually knowing what the two separate areas would be used for, contracting shops bring up a couple of different questions as far as noise, any kind of light manufacturing that's going to be inside the building, exterior storage of materials and things like that. So it is obviously helpful to know what if the lot is having multiple uses, what the multiple uses would be. I understand, Mr. Chair, and that's why we work to address that. There will be no manufacturing, and there's no exterior storage.
Great. Joe?
On those lots that are otherwise shown, the exterior storage would be in where the material storage bins are shown. But on those rear lots, there's no exterior storage. The site and the uses would have to comply with this plan as drawn.
Okay, thank you. Joe, I think your hand is raised.
Yeah, thank you. You were asked the same question I was going to ask. The other part is within the garage bays, because they're going to have storage in there, there will be vehicles, and I think they have to have a containment system for any leaky oil, gas, or whatever. So can we add that to a list of every, annually gets inspected, cleaned out, just so there's no flow and there's no problems with that, gas or oil, or even a fertilizer gets into that catch basin inside the garage. Thank you.
And if I may just expand on that, certainly amenable to that. And I believe there was a note in the narrative at some point that, any of the buildings that would have vehicles in them would have the required oil gas separated, the floor drains that are required by the building code that we would tie in, again, served by sewer. So, it's some money, but it's doable. And that's what we would put in that infrastructure for those drains to then go to that separator, as we've done throughout most of Arrowhead and similar types of operations, certainly.
So, and Art, also, as far as the use, obviously this would be individual. If there's maintenance on a vehicle, it wouldn't be from a public retail type business, because it's in the wellhead district. So I think that garages and mechanical would exclude that from happening as well, I think.
Certainly, we couldn't have a use that would not be allowed in the underlying district.
Thank you. Other board members? Seeing none for now. Meg, is there anyone from the general public that would like to comment?
I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, back to board members. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, for you to staff, do you feel like you want to wait till another meeting here to wrap everything up, or do you think you've got enough and most of this can be handled through both? Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll make a motion at this point that we close the public hearing.
Yeah, before you do that, Barry,
Yeah.
Meg, could you just check to see if there's anyone else?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't see anyone, but
No, there's not.
Okay, Barry, go ahead.
yeah, so I'll make a motion. We close the public hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, I missed, is that Nat?
Just give it to Dave. It's all good.
Throw it to Dave.
There's always a hesitation.
Thanks for the,
Everybody's so
Don't have to worry
considerate.
about the vote,
There's a
whether or
little
not.
brief hesitation and then, okay, everybody throw. So motion's been made to close by Barry, seconded by Dave. Roll call, Barry.
Aye.
Dave,
aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye, thank you, Dave, for your motion.
and the chair votes aye. All right, what is the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion at this point is that we approve the special permit for the MCD as was supplied to us with the revisions through Ed Pesci and the final notations of what needs to wrap up this project with staff being able to make those decisions for us.
And I would note that this is a 4 out of 5 required vote. Okay, motion's been made by Barry. Is there a second?
Dave, go ahead. I'll second.
All right, Joe, second. Motion was made by Barry, second by Joe. Roll call, Barry.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Barry, did Barry vote?
He did. He made the motion. He voted first.
Perfect.
Mhm. All
I
right.
should have gave it to you, Dave.
Oh.
Yeah.
I will note that was unanimous as well. All right. So next on the agenda was the public hearing for the zoning articles. This is going to be removed as it was a public hearing item that we managed to complete at our Thursday meeting. So we had to advertise if we did not complete the articles. So with that, I would go to planning board motions and comments on all articles.
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to just run through these article by article quickly?
Certainly, Leslie.
Very quickly.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Article 37, you had a motion to adopt, and there's no comment on the article. Article 38, you had a motion to adopt. There's no comment on that article. Article 39, you also had a motion to adopt. Do you all have these handy, or should we screen share as we're running through this?
Some may, some might not. So I would say if it's easier to share the screen, that's great.
Okay. So 37 was the animal hospital, animal shelter.
Mhm.
38's ground cover for sheds. 39, and these are all planning board sponsored as of right now. The swimming pool, hot tub, recreational outdoor water feature article. That one also received a positive recommendation, and there's a comment, and I'll read all the comments to you since you haven't reviewed them yet. The intent of this article is to address any ambiguity within the current bylaw as to what constitutes a residential swimming pool or a hot tub spa. Further, this addresses a directive provided to the town from the Massachusetts Land Court in a ruling, which is part of ongoing litigation. Article 40, that's the fractional ownership article. You had a motion not to adopt. The comment on that, due to the ongoing short-term rental discussion and the scheduled 2023 special town meeting on November 7th, there's a typo there. The planning board determined that this matter should be deferred at this time so that it can be discussed with other related articles. All right, 41 duplex. You had a positive recommendation on that to adopt. And we're still working on the exact language in a comment, but basically we want to reference the housing production plan and how it specifically identified the allowance of multifamily units in the old historic districts as a potential to create more dwelling units. So we'll finalize something on that, but as long as no one has any issues with that generally, okay. Article 42, secondary residential lots. Positive recommendation, no comment on that one. Tertiary lot, positive recommendation, no comment. Article 44, off-street parking requirements. Positive recommendation, and there's a comment. The zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the housing production plan, which specifically identifies reducing parking requirements as a method to make multifamily housing opportunities more feasible. The changes proposed in this article are more consistent with state guidelines than, there's a typo there, than the current bylaw. Although not as permissive as suggested, it is consistent with the provisions of the recent legislation known as housing choice. All right, 45, that was the Appleton Road rezoning not to adopt. No comment. 46, Knobska Way to R5. There is a comment. Many of the neighborhood residents expressed the desire to maintain the current character of their street. Placing these properties in R5 is consistent with the zoning of the western portion of Knobska Way, and it would maintain the residential character along with the allowance of opportunities available through the home occupation bylaw. 47, Salrose to C Tech, positive motion, no comment. 48, 91, and 95, My Comment Avenue, positive motion, no comment. Now we're moving, oh no, this one's still planning board. Article 49, R1 to R5, Williams Lane and Cherry Street. Positive motion, no comment. Article 50, R1 to R5, CN and CMI. Positive motion, no comment. Article 51, R10 to CN, Surfside Road and Caldwell Court. Positive motion, no comment. The next one, I just lost track. Article 52, which was 69 Hammond Pond Road. Positive motion. The comment on that one. The portion of the lot recommended for rezoning is the only buildable portion of the lot outside of the conservation restriction area. The property was previously rezoned with an inadvertent disregard to the conservation restriction. This proposal would restore the ground cover allowance originally intended for the remaining buildable portion of the property. 53, Town Overlay District parcels, positive motion, no comment. And 54, we're moving into citizen petitions. This is swimming pool residential. This is the one that would change the permit granting authority to the planning board. Not to adopt. The comment is the planning board determined that the zoning board of appeals remains the most appropriate for addressing issues such as potential impacts from swimming pools that are primarily limited to individual property owners, not wider island concerns. Article 55, which was the Campbell Sutton swimming pool article, not to adopt. Comment, the planning board discussed this matter at length over the course of several meetings. The board determined that the concerns brought forward by the proponent did not warrant the changes proposed, which would affect a substantial number of properties. In the past, the planning board has supported changes such as those proposed when supported by the property owners directly affected, or when conditions warranting such changes have been proven to exist, which in this case was not provided to the board. Okay. 56, intensity regulations, frontage, positive motion, planning board comment. The planning board, with support from the zoning board of appeals, determined that changing the special permit granting authority for a frontage reduction was in keeping with the role of the planning board, whose jurisdiction includes matters related to the creation of and access to lots. 57, setbacks. Again, that's changing from Board of Appeals to Planning Board. Not to adopt, the Planning Board determined that the Zoning Board of Appeals remains the most appropriate for addressing issues such as potential impacts from residential setback reductions that are primarily limited to individual property owners, not wider island concerns. Article 58, accessory uses, positive motion. This zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the housing production plan, which specifically identifies, formalize, and regulate room rentals as a method to create, legalize, regulate additional housing opportunities. Article 59, that's changing the definition of use principle, not to adopt. The planning board, in deference to the select board and the short-term rental work group, determined that articles that may be related to the short-term rental discussion should not be acted upon at this town meeting, and that all discussion should be delayed for consolidation at the already scheduled 2023 special town meeting on November 7th. So that same comment carries forward to Article 60 that received a not to adopt, and Article 61 that received a motion not to adopt. Article 62 and 63, those are the Emily Molden articles not to adopt. The first one, this article as proposed is in direct conflict with the subdivision control law. The planning board discussed this article and Article 63 together and at length. Although the board agrees with the proponent that there may be merit and potential changes to the current practice, more research is needed prior to any changes to the current bylaw. And the comment for 63 is the same, except it just references Article 62. And I need to fix that in the version that you're looking at. Article 64, SOH to be in Elbow Lane. That received a positive motion. And I was just working on a comment during the hearing that I've lost, but planning board comment, placing this property in the BN district is consistent with the 2009 master plan goal to preserve a village center in Sconset. I was just going to specifically reference that goal. And then we talked quite a bit about the fact that it was recently acquired by the Sconset Trust, but I think that's sort of irrelevant to the comment. So I think we should probably not even mention that. Article 65, RC2 and CN to CMI Arrowhead, that received a positive recommendation, no comment. 66, positive recommendation, planning board comment. Owners have agreed to restrict the properties from utilizing many of the commercial uses in the CN district, including the following, which I'm not going to read all those right now, but you can see them on your screen. Article 67, R20 to R10. That received a positive motion. I think Andrew and Megan may have talked about a comment on that today. I was unexpectedly not in the office. Megan, anything?
No, I think this one was for clarification. The finance committee at their hearings had some questions or wanted some further understanding as to why the planning board supported this zoning change. And I think we can come up with a comment, you know, kind of just detailing that R20 is not consistent zoning along Old South Road in this portion of the island, that R10 and 10,000 square foot zoning is something that is more consistent, and then it goes up to R5 to the north of that. So just kind of explaining the rationale behind why the board supported this request.
All right, is everyone good with that? Okay. Article 68, Evergreen and Airport Road, positive recommendation, no comment. Article 69, not to adopt, comment on that one. The content of this article is included in Article 52, which received a positive motion from the planning board. And that is the end of the zoning articles.
Great, thank you, Leslie. Is there, you expect a motion for us to approve, endorse, or?
I think we've already voted on the motion, so that was really just to run through them and make sure that they were correct.
Summer?
But if
Okay.
you want to vote to approve the comments, that would be.
Yeah, just because there were a couple of things added and also things that are discussed that we just agreed to, that we leave it up to staff to put into writing. So just to kind of make that official, I would say that I would look for a motion to.
Can I just make one comment?
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chairman?
Mhm.
Just real quick, I was on mute and didn't realize, I couldn't get it out of mute when Leslie was doing her credibles presentation. Leslie, this is just strictly, you know, up to you, up to the board, whatever. The 4181L stuff, I have this like sneaky feeling that in my head that this could get very confusing at town meeting. I mean, it might be nothing. You don't know. This is one of those ones that is, I don't think we've ever really had anything on town meeting floor about this that I can recall in my, short life of this stuff, but I think that there should be a little bit more about possibly, running some numbers, looking at lots like we talked about. I don't know how you could put that in the comment without it saying, it has to be sort of a general statement, but like you need to we need to look at places that we've already approved in the last, like say 4 or 5 years, whatever. I mean, I know I mentioned the funeral home, which is really the biggest one that, it's right in your face every day. You're driving by it. No one even says anything or sees anything or knows anything about it. But that's the whole point of it. Instead of it just being about, oh, we're making more lots. Well, we are, but we're not making more buildings necessarily. So a little bit, but not like a subdivision. So I think maybe, some little notation about running some calculations on, the last few years. I don't know. That's up to you guys. I'm just throwing that out there.
So I could elaborate on the research just a little bit.
Research, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you can use as a simple way of explaining it.
I'll work on something.
Other than that, it was a great list. Didn't see anything else.
So again, with that, not that we haven't already voted and approved on the last meeting, but with the extra comments and staff recommended wording, I would just like to, I guess, endorse what has been talked about and presented and given confidence to the staff to put that into comments. Is that something acceptable to the board?
So moved, sir.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Barry, seconded by Nat. Roll call, Barry.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. Now moving on, public comment, and I would like to remind that this is for items not on the agenda, not open for discussion with the board. Meg, I would look to you if there's anyone from the general public that has a comment.
Not seeing anyone.
Okay, moving on. Other business, we have a planning board joint meeting with the select board and FinCom on March 20th, 2023 at 4 o'clock via Zoom. Also, our next monthly meeting is April 10th, 4 o'clock. And that is, Meg, go ahead.
Yeah, can I just make a comment on that?
Sure.
So while the House has voted to approve the extension of remote meetings, that has not been approved by the Senate, nor has it been signed by the governor. So I have to submit a legal ad by the end of the week. If that hasn't been signed by the governor by the end of the week, when that legal ad is due, I can't assume that it will be signed in time for this meeting to move forward fully remote. So in the event that that we don't have clarification on that by the end of the week, possibly we can get an extension to Monday. We'll have to advertise for an in-person meeting for April. So stay tuned. I'll keep you all posted as to what way that's going.
Great, thanks for the update. Okay. Wow, is it really 6:08?
Yeah.
No.
5:08.
5:08.
All right, well, very good job, people. I was not anticipating dinner tonight, so thank you very much for all the staff and cooperation.
Ron, you got a hand raised.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
I was curious about, maybe through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, about the Coastal Resilience Committee. Is that going to be something that I'm going to do on behalf of the planning board? Because Joe and I talked about it. Does anybody have any information on that? Please.
I would gladly give you my seat, Carl.
So I think we'd have to put that on the agenda for next meeting.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So
And-
we'll schedule that for April.
great. And in advance of that, Carl, thank you very much for your willingness.
Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to mention was I noticed, Megan, that you are now AICP. You're not a candidate anymore, or are you now official?
I am now official. Thank you for noticing.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, guys.
And
Good work.
Thank you.
That's it. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. With that, thank you very much to everyone, staff. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Dave. Motion's been made to adjourn by Barry, second by Dave. Roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you,
night.
thank you,
Thank you
thank
all.
you.
I.
Good, everybody.
There's a Monday, next Monday.
Yep.